Hi, I'm Nick Palmisano, and this is the Bad News Network. President Trump held a cabinet meeting this week with a poster on the table modeled after Game of Thrones with the words, "Sanctions are coming," written across it. People across the Twitterverse were quick to mock the president for using a show where a wall did not work as a reason to build a wall. Politics aside, I have a real problem with this. That ice wall did work for 8 millennia. In fact, that wall worked for so many years that people didn't even think that White Walkers were real anymore. They had drifted off into lore. Even the Night's Watch, that basically lives on the wall, thought that they were legends. If Dirty Aunt Daenerys hadn't handed the freaking White Walkers a frost giant of death or whatever, that wall would still be totally effective. Generations of people in the Seven Kingdoms have lived for 8,000 years walker-free. It took a mythological, double evil, super double triple magic dragon to take down a wall after 8,000 years of service. That wall worked! In other news, President Trump has not been particularly happy with the attention that Mattis has received since his resignation this week. The president has spent much of his week trying to diminish Mattis, even at one point exclaiming, "What has he done for me?" Which sort of misses the point of what service even is. He served the nation at the pleasure of the president. He didn't serve the president. His job isn't to do anything for you. It's to serve the nation, to serve the men and women of the armed forces, and to uphold the Constitution of the United States of America. I don't usually like to harp on language because nobody is perfect, especially when they're unscripted. But this theme with the president of people doing something for him or working for him or being loyal to him is a recurring theme with the president, and it's problematic. President Trump then went on to say he thinks he would make a good general, but who knows? Some have argued that he would have had the opportunity to know if he had served honorably in Vietnam and then stayed in the military, worked his way up the chain of command, and then had the opportunity to become a general. Others have said that, that's the only option. A new Congress has started today. My prediction, Republicans will suddenly care about the deficit and spending again. Democrats won't impeach the president, even though they've been bitching incessantly that the Republicans should help them in doing so. And at the end of all of it, both sides will get the same cushy jobs at lobbyist groups all throughout DC, just as the framers intended. A video of Congressman Ocasio-Cortez dancing has been promoted by many on the far right as a way of shaming her and what we at BNN like to call the footloose strategy. Ocasio-Cortez is dangerous because she's a charismatic woman who is a great marketer who is simultaneously espousing the tenets of socialism, which have failed in every single experiment they've ever been used throughout the globe. The fact that she's a millennial that was paying homage to the Breakfast Club, and doing it very well, I might add, is probably the most endearing thing that she's done thus far as I'm concerned. We really need to drop the concept of blasting people for their distant past, especially their teenage past. I'm not sure about all you perfect Puritans out there, but I did a lot of stupid things in my past and childhood, and I like to think of myself as at least mildly competent. When I was the same age as Ocasio-Cortez was in that video, I was sitting there waiting for wrestling practice to start and we came upon a crash mat. We immediately started doing backflips on the crash mat. But, we were kids and we were meatheads and that got boring, so then we pushed the crash mat closer to this stage so we could get kind of a running jump and do backflips off the stage onto the crash mat. But then me and another idiot decided that's just not extreme enough. So we pushed the crash mat over next to one of the basketball hoops. I then climbed up on top of the backboard, balancing myself precariously on this tiny backboard, and did a backflip off of it. I didn't quite clear it enough so that as I was doing the backflip, my knee hit the rim. And you know those little hooks that connect the net? My knee kind of got stuck in that and spun around, leaving a scar that I still have to this very day. Now that is wildly more dumb than dancing to the Breakfast Club. So I don't think you need to worry about her dance video. What you may want to worry about is that the idiot who jumped off of a backboard is far more likely to know something about policy decisions or the way our government works than somebody that was just elected to New York's 14th district. If you're gonna hit her on the quality of her policies, not the fact that she does a mean Molly Ringwald impression. In the most Florida story of the week, a Florida man attacked a female McDonald's employee over a straw. Daniel Taylor was upset upon realizing that McDonald's now keeps straws behind the counter because of a new white suburban woman ordinance based on their total boredom and a video of a turtle with a straw up its nose. Taylor, incensed by his lack of straws, reached out and grabbed Yasmeen James by the scruff of the neck and yanked her right to his face. James, who was about 70 pounds lighter than Taylor, wasn't having it and rapidly hit him with 9 overhand rights until he let her go. As he was being escorted out of the McDonald's, he then kicked a second female employee right in the stomach. Shortly thereafter, Taylor was arrested by police. When questioned, he said, "I'm sorry, but that was the last straw." China landed a rover on the far side of the moon this week, making it the first nation ever to do so. Many in the US are quick to minimalize this accomplishment. After all, we put the first man on the moon 50 years ago and landed our first rover 65 years ago. We did this before the iPhone, before the Atari, before the home computer, and even before the floppy disk even existed. Nevertheless, this is an important accomplishment and harkens to China's increased investment in science and technology. It's easy to dismiss space as less important than our terrestrial concerns, but the search for new frontiers drives new technology, bolsters defense, and moves us closer to being a multi-planet species. And just about every scientist out there believes that that's critical for the long-term survivability of humanity. So NASA, all I'm saying is,
get your ass to Mars.
But everything isn't good in China. The combination of US tariffs and low consumer confidence has built a great wall of failure around China's economic aspirations, even as they spend more in defense and technology. The first major indicator of this came Thursday as Apple announced extremely soft sales in the largest smartphone market in the world. Apple stock dropped 10% and the Dow dropped 660 points on the news. What will happen next in China? I'd crack a Chinese fortune cookie to find out, but those are an American invention, just like everything else that is awesome! And finally, Giuseppe Matarazzo, a pedophile Catholic priest whose assaults led one 15-year-old girl to commit suicide by hanging, was killed by 2 hitmen 11 days after being released from prison. The Carabinieri currently have 2 suspects in custody and believe the father of the slain girl was involved as well. Nevertheless, they're worried about how their case is going to fare in court, as the entire town has come on the record as saying, "Me no foto! I didn't see nothing!" And with that, I'm Nick Palmisano, and this is the Bad News Network. Our news is at least as bad as the news you're getting already, and it's now 2019. Where's my flying car? And another thing. If the Night's Watch had been given a real budget instead of just been loading up with prisoners and reprobates and losers, that wall probably still would have held. They weren't even clearing trees anymore. You got a budget for this stuff.